And the point is the crooks want a big war, as Gerald said a year ago. He said, as things accelerate, as things implode, look for the first great war. That was his trend of 2011, his top trend back in January of last year. Now he has his new big Trends Journal out. You can get it at Trends Journal website if you want to find out a lot more. And we have the 12-point breakdown. It's trendsresearch.com. And you can see right there on the cover of it, if you guys will zoom in for PrisonPlanet.tv viewers, it says the Trends Journal, the Trends Research Institute, forecasting worldwide since 1980. Wanted, enemy of the state, Gerald Celente wanted for speaking the truth. This is just a black and white print off from our computer. We might show the color one later. And it says America with a K, USSA, by Department of Homeland Security. And joining us for the rest of the hour is Gerald Celente. Gerald, great to have you on with us, my friend.
Oh, it's always a pleasure being on with you, Alex.
So they now admit that there's a war already going on, what we knew years ago, covertly in Iran. Things are escalating. What's on the front burner for Gerald Celente right now? Out of the gates, what's most important?
It is Iran. It's number one. There are two number ones. It's what's going on in Europe, the meltdown of the European Economic Union, and the Iranian war that they're building up. They declared war, Alex. With Obama, when he signed on New Year's Eve, the National Defense Authorization Act, he also declared war against Iran, essentially, by making it impossible for businesses to do business with the Iranian bank who clears the deals to sell oil. And so already we've just heard from Japan. They said, according to the reports, that they're going to cut back on buying Iranian oil. Timothy Geithner just went to China and tried to strong on the Chinese into not buying Iranian oil. 22% of Iranian oil goes to China. The European Economic Union, the Eurozone, they have already announced that they're going to stop buying Iranian oil. It's an act of war. It's a reverse of what happened as they're talking about what Pearl Harbor. I mean, people, if they know their history a little bit, the United States stopped Japan from buying oil. And now what they're doing is they're stopping Iran from selling their oil, and over 60% of Iran's GDP comes from selling oil. So we can see what's being set up here. Imagine this. Imagine if Iran put sanctions on companies doing business with America. Oh, my God, would there be some outrage going on?
No, I did notice that all of this is unfolding. In fact, while you were talking, Rob Dew just walked in and handed this to me. Is why I was distracted for a moment. It's on another issue, Gerald, but it ties into just the rampant criminality. Here is a story out of Reuters. MF Global may not be able to pay clients back, the trustee says, Gerald. And so here we are 2-3 months into this, 2.5 months into this, and now they're just saying, you know, we don't know where the money is. Most of you won't get your money back. And by the way, Corzine, the White House advisor, got caught lying in Congress, but nobody gets in trouble. I mean, doesn't that just green light all sorts of new crime?
Well, exactly. It's a criminal operation. And it's Corzine. I love the headline. He's looking for new place to start up business. Yeah, how about Sing Sing? Again, you know, when you look at the prostitutes and how they cover this, imagine if you or I or anybody listening breaks a minor crime. You know, they'll crash down your doors and drag you away. Could you imagine not being able to find money on your tax return? How they'd be hounding you to death? And going back and talking about this criminality and tying it together, here's what's going on, as I said, in Europe. Because as we made this forecast based upon, as you mentioned, a year ago, the collapse coming, the cover-up. It's not a recovery. We said it was a cover-up. And if you look back and you hear the European Central Banker at the time, the head Trichet, a couple of years ago, saying that the Greek problem was solved. They would handle it. And now, of course, I mean, you can't make this stuff up, Alex. This is yesterday's Financial Times. Here's the headline. ECB sees signs of let-up in debt crisis. This is yesterday. Today, guess what? We have a debt crisis again. And here's what they're saying over there in Greece. This is from the Australian. Banks say no deal on Greek debt. Quote, there has been no agreement on any Greek deal or a specific haircut, says Charles Dallara, head of the Institute of International Finance, which represents banks in the EU negotiation. We remain open to a dialogue in search of a voluntary agreement. Now, let's make this clear so everyone could understand this BS language. The banks made bad bets. It's as simple as that. Because they made bad bets, they don't want to take a haircut. You make a bad bet. Hey, you know what we'll call that, Alex? Capitalism. How about that?
Oh.
But not when the banks do it. They don't want to take a haircut because the white shoe boys don't want to take a trimming. Instead, they're going to screw you and grab the money from you, from the Greeks, from the Italians, from the Americans, from the French, from the German, from everybody. So what do? I got it. Austerity measures. How's that for a nice word? It kind of conjures up those feelings of, you know, doing the right thing. Yeah, like raising taxes, cutting benefits, cutting pensions, cutting services, and increasing the cost of services, raising taxes as you're losing money, and increasing the retirement age until after you're dead. So now what is happening is the whole system is collapsing. We're hearing reports that are coming out today, as you know, that they're going to be downgrading French and Austrian debt, just like they did in the U.S. What does that mean? The credit rating is being lowered.
So the very bankers that engineered all this, who are the recipients of our bailout, that's our tax money, they then lower your government's credit rating, and you pay them higher interest on the money you gave them that they loan back to you.
Exactly, and that's why they call them the money changers, the loan sharks. Again, the people that Jesus Christ beat out of the temple with a whip and turned over their tables. The money changers are in charge, like a slime ball-like corzine. And it keeps going on. I'm sure, Alex, that you read the latest reports that just came out. Again, this goes under the headlines of, you can't make this up. And here's the latest one. It's about those wonderful boys at the Federal Reserve, how they called it wrong in 2006. You have the transcripts of people like Timothy Geithner saying, quote, we just don't see troubling signs yet of collateral damage. And we are not expecting much. Oh, we aren't we? The we's. The white shoe weasels. That's who Wheeze is. There's one after another. This is the cat that's running the Treasury. And I love the language as it keeps going on. You'd like to grab these guys by the throat and say, who are you talking to? I'd like the record to show, Geithner goes on to say, how wonderful Greenspan is.
Oh, yes, stay there. So one little mafia minion's telling us how great the retired Don did, how they helped everybody. They handed out free turkeys on Thanksgiving, the very people they were shaking down. On screen, we have the Trends Research Journal Quarterly. They also have news alerts as well. Find out more at trendsresearch.com. Our websites, of course, are prisonplanet.tv, where we're streaming this TV show right now, /radio. And we have the nightly news. Peter Schiff's on with us tonight, one of Ron Paul's top financial advisors. on his economic policy. Now, going back to Gerald Celente in the short segment, more news and your calls coming up with Gerald in the next. Gerald, you were getting into how this disgusting crew of admitted miscreant Ponzi scheme operators always are constantly giving each other awards, worshiping each other for what they've done, promising to never devalue the dollar as they do it, lying 24/7, and hurtling us towards collapse. Give us your latest breakdown on the acceleration of the world depression. Because, you know, a few years ago, the New York Times would say you were a pessimist porn dealer. Now they say, okay, we never had a recovery. The question is, will it be a global recession or depression? But according to you and many other analysts I talked to, for the average folks, we've been in a depression for a long time.
Anybody that goes shopping knows what the deal is. I mean, these guys are so out of touch with what's going on. And of course we are. You know, you look at the data. What is the gap between the rich and the poor in America? You know, it's like Zimbabwe or something. And that's according to the CIA fact book. Anybody could go look this up. Look at the decline according to official estimates. You know, household income, median household income, has collapsed 10% since this thing began at the Panic of '08. But I really want to read these quotes so that people could understand who's in charge.
Yeah, start over with the Greenspan worship.
Well, here's one over here from Bernanke. Now, this is as the markets are collapsing. I'm out there saying the real estate bubble is burst. And here's the quote from Bernanke. Quote, I agree with most of the commentary that the strong fundamentals support a relatively soft landing in housing. If this was me or you, we would be fired. But no, this guy's put her, the prostitutes, bow down, suck up, kiss up. Mr. Bernanke, sir, chairman, sir. Hey, about how could anybody be so wrong? Here's another great one from our esteemed Treasury Secretary. Check it out. Quote, we think the fundamentals of the expansion going forward still look good. Oh, we do we? What you mean we, Kimosabe? Not me, not other people. We didn't, with Peter Schiff, Paul Craig Roberts, Mark Farber. You know, there were a number of us that said this thing was collapsing. But the we's in this are astounding. And I want to make this point because, Alex, it's the same we's on the military end that know what they're doing. Oh, how no one saw this coming. We are going to get in a war with Iran. Look what just happened with Iraq. Hey, did you see all those victory parades? You must have missed a big one. I wonder where Bloomberg was with his American shirt on and Lady Gaga to welcome home the troops from Iraq on Wall Street with all the confetti falling. I didn't see it happening. The same losers in the military are going to do the same thing that the losers on the financial end are going to do. You know, there's been a lot of press out there about, I heard Panetta saying that first he was CIA, then he's the head of the Defense Department, saying how despicable it is that our troops were urinating on the dead Taliban. How about this, oh, deplorable, he said. How about despicable it is that you sent them over there? How about how despicable it is these guys are dead? How about waterboarding people?
I was about to say, Gerald, it makes me think of the line from not Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now, where he's talking to Colonel Kurtz, and he says, you know, we give our troops demerits for writing cuss words on airplanes, but then we tell them to drop firebombs on little villages full of children. I mean, there it is, torture, murder, drones killing whole families to kill one, quote, bad guy. All this evil, and then they obsess over, oh my gosh, they urinated on corpses.
Yeah, what a bunch of baloney this is. And these are young kids, and they believe this crap that people like, you know, our secretary of this and that are telling us.
Well, stay there. We got a break. Come back with that on the other side, and let's continue and look at how fast you see things unraveling. Go back into Iran and phone calls. Gerald Celente is our guest. It's Friday, the 13th. Stay with us.